So, I was swimming in the Mediterranean and I hurt my shoulder, but I feel okay. I just was bracing myself after being hit by a wave. But back at the hotel, I wanted to swim in the Mediterranean, and I did. It seems kind of ridiculous for me to be talking to these videos, but normally I don't do this, but I just wanted to say one other thing about the lady who invited us to her house when we were leaving. People were asking her questions, and I wanted to ask her a question about what her what did she think about what happened in 1948 with the Arab population, most of whom were, because the tour guide, Evan, he kept saying that the Arabs left. They left, like Jaffa, they just left. He didn't say why they left, It's like he made it seem like they just decided, yeah, I think I'll just leave now and let the Jewish settlers come in and take over, and I'll give up my house and my land, and I'll just leave now. That's kind of how they made it sound like, but they were forced out. There were massacres. There was shelling. There was extreme violence. He called it a war of independence or a civil war. But honestly, it was like they said, the catastrophe for the Arab populations, the Nakba. So I wanted to ask her about that. I was even wanting to use the word Nakba. But I didn't, and it's a good thing I didn't, because she was ready to go, or ready to have us leave right at that time, and she was smiling, and she had a good experience with the group, and I didn't want to, that would have ruined the mood. And she was a really genuine person, and I'm really glad that I was able to meet her and be in her house. Her son came down the stairs, and saw him for a minute, and yeah, it was a family. It was their house, and they were living there in Jaffa. And yeah, I did want to ask, what did you think of, what is your real opinion of the state of Israel, and what happened in 1948, and how the Arabs were forced out, most of them, how they became refugees, 750,000 refugees, Palestinian refugees, who were forced out, and the tour guide, he kind of glossed over that, and then just talked about how there were Jewish refugees in Arab countries who came into Israel, which is true, of course. And then he said something else about, how they want to kill, Jewish people, and he was talking about honor killings and how it happens all the time, and yeah, it just has a very, and it does happen, but I just think that he's very much, what she said, the woman at the lunch, she said, there's a lot of people here, guys, who just want to live their life. And that's kind of what I thought too, is they just want to live their life. They need money, they need food, they need shelter. They want to assimilate in order to live the life, is what she said. In other words, make a living, and things are expensive here. So they're not so involved in the political side or religious side about being what she called pro-Palestine. But then she said there are guys who, especially if they see something happening where people, like in Sheikh Jarrah and the East Jerusalem neighborhood, or people are getting kicked out of their homes, she said that the guys get very angry, the Arab population, the men get angry, and they want to, but she said, and they want to, defend their community. But She said around in the north, she said like in the Galilee area, the Arab population is more pro-Palestine than they are. She kept saying pro-Palestine, in other words, caring about this is our land and we want to take it back. Obviously, that's not going to happen. I mean, they have to be realistic. I mean, Israel is here, and like the tour guide said, the main thing is just communities have to be able to live together, get along, because they're here. The Jews are not going, and the Jewish people are not going anywhere. And the Arab population that's here, the Muslims, the Palestinians, and Christian Palestinians, they have to be able to get along and then live together. And it's a lot easier said than done, obviously. I'm just a tourist, I know that. I'm not trying to think that I understand what's going on here, or that I really have the ability to voice an opinion even, but from my understanding, I have learned a lot. I've gained some understanding, is what I'm trying to say. And I guess you could say I am more pro-Palestine than the average American, because I know the history more than some Americans, like, maybe a lot of Americans. I know more history than some of them. I was a history major in college, and I like to know the background and see all sides. And anyway, one last thing is when I was leaving her house, Doris, her house, the Palestinian Israeli Christian woman who invited us for lunch, she was so gracious and lovely, and I wanted to thank her. I came up the steps and she thought that I hadn't gotten any food yet. So she's like, "Have you eaten? Did you eat?" I was like, "Yeah, I was just getting something to drink." She wanted to make sure I had eaten. But anyway, when we were leaving, I said, thank you. I wanted to thank her. See the tree of life? This is my necklace I got, the tree of life on the Mount of Olives. It was sold to me by some guys who were really trying to sell some stuff, and they got me to buy this. Didn't really necessarily want it, but I like it. But anyway, what I was saying is, before I left, I thanked her. I wanted to make sure I thanked her for lunch and for just the experience, and I said, thank you. And she said, she called me sweetheart. She said, she called me sweetheart. Like she must have seen something in my eyes or something that made her think that I was, that she could call me sweetheart. But, so I'm sure she doesn't say that to every guy that comes in there, sweetheart. But anyway, that made me feel good, that she thought I deserved to be called sweetheart. And so God bless her, and God bless this whole country, Israel, and I will say the occupied territories, but it's all Israel at this point. You have to accept that. It's controlled basically by Israel, all of it, the whole country pretty much, even though there are some areas that is, like she said today, Nablus, Ramallah, those places. And we went to Bethlehem, it's Palestinian areas, but yeah, I hope and pray that they can live together, and that there will not continue to be this conflict forever, because, I mean, when I've been walking around, I know it's just incidental, but I haven't seen any, conflict between Arabs and Jews, and they're walking down the same streets, like we're in Jaffa. Well, not Jaffa, because that's almost all Arab, but just in Jerusalem, walking down the street, Arabs, Jews, walking down the same street, passing each other, no problem, But that's just a little anecdotal evidence, but people can get along and worship God, even if they have different religions, and live in the same country, even though it's a small country and it has a lot of significance for each community, for each religious community, and each people. We're really all one people. We're all really God's children, but sometimes that's forgotten based on political or religious differences, but ultimately we are the same from God, all of us, from the same source. And now I'm preaching. So I'll just say goodbye here. This is a long vlog here, but I'm going to be leaving, so I figured I'd make one more. And thank you, God, for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for allowing me to take this trip. I'm signing off. Yalla. That's what the tour guide said whenever we had to go somewhere. Yalla. I gotta go. Bye.